my dad did have, obviously a big heart because he met this woman in a massage parlor and said, "Oh, bless her heart. She's working all of these days in a row and for her people." He kept calling out her people. And I'm like, okay, for the cartel. And he just didn't want to admit it. And then he had to meet with her boss. Of course, she hadn't paid off her freedom yet. She was intentionally trafficked. She paid to be trafficked over here and then got assigned a job in the massage parlor and then hadn't paid off the freedom yet. So in
Okay.
exchange,
So massage parlor?
that's what he said.
I just
I didn't ask him what kind of service he got.
sorry.
Yeah, but he felt bad for her and talked to her boss, and he was allowed to marry her. But in exchange, since she hadn't paid off her freedom yet, the deal was that her people could grow on our family farm.
What, I'm sorry, what country did she come from?
China.
China. Okay, in order to get your freedom, we have to come and do this activity on your
Yeah, well,
property.
my understanding is that you pay for to be trafficked over to here, and then she was brought initially to a different state, and when she got here into a warehouse, and then once you get there, they tell you what state they're going to move you to, and she got moved here to Oklahoma and worked in the massage parlor. That was her job. And it was 7 days a week for 12 hours a day. And so when my dad met her, he was very soft hearted and said he felt bad for her and wanted to help her, and then fell in love with her. And then they communicated only by app on his phone. And it, translated English to Chinese, and they would just talk in their phone and talk back, and then it would translate it for them.
Well, in a lot of instances like that, you paid to get over and then you had to pay the money back and then you had to pay rent, right? And it's usually astronomical and room and board. And there's really no way to get ahead without somebody like your dad who has a kind heart and a lot of property to grow marijuana on.
Right. So they were housing several of these people in a house in the city where the massage parlor was, and they would let them live there so they could save some money. And she did save a lot of money while she was there because she wasn't paying a whole lot of bills. And then she would get tips, and I don't know, she got paid a whole lot, but she would get paid some. And then she had customers and things like that. And my dad just happened to fall for it and still was in denial. Really, honestly, when he died, he was in denial. I was mad for a while just at the fact that he didn't live long enough to where I could prove myself right. Like, dang, because he died on February 14th and it was raided on February 22nd. So 8 days after his death, it was raided by the feds and proven to be I think it was a $35 million raid over 15 different farms in Oklahoma. And our farm was one of them. And because he had a land contract to rent the land, he was deemed an innocent landowner, and the wife did not get arrested.
Were you able, you said you got half. Did you literally get half or did you guys have to sell it and then you got half of the proceeds?
We did not do a forced sell because she was very aggressive with me, saying she needed to get this part of the land and that part of the land because it had all of this millions of dollars worth of grow equipment and buildings on it. And I frankly just didn't want to fight. And so I paid for a surveyor to come out, and they surveyed the land and they split it evenly. And then I sold my half right after.
Your raising father passes away. Did you say on Valentine's Day?
He passed away on Valentine's Day, correct?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
thank
That's
you.
a lot to have to
Right.
remember.
I thought it was bad enough him getting married, and then bad enough that he passed away, and then bad enough that this grow was going on, and then I had to split the farm. And I really was thinking to myself at this point in life, like, it cannot get worse, right? I've been through all of these things, and it cannot get worse, right? Until I sold the farm. And I took the money and I told my husband, we're going to invest this and we're going to do one completely irresponsible thing. after we invest most of it, and we're going to go to Scotland, and I don't care how long we're gone, and I don't care what we do, and if I see it and I want it, I'm going to buy it because I've been through this horrible experience and I want one happy thing to come from this terrible, situation. So we booked the Scotland trip, and I had a friend from work give me a gift. Do you want to guess what the gift was?
Yeah, well, I was going to say people plan and God laughs.
Yeah. The gift was an Ancestry DNA test.
Why would they give you that? That's such an interesting thing for them
Well,
to give you.
because I was going to Scotland.
Oh, so you just want to identify lederhosen or a kilt.
She said, "Hey, I got you a gift before your Scotland trip, so you can see how Scottish you are."
How much were you expecting?
15 or 20%.
Okay.
And I spit in the tube and I sent it off, and it came back 27%. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Woohoo!
And yeah, I can visit part of my heritage. And I thought, what a really fun gift. And I hadn't had a lot of time to really look at the results and process the results and think about them. I just looked at my percentages and thought it was interesting, and I would research it later. And shortly after this, I consequently work at a hospital with stroke patients, and I had been working all day, and I came home and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak. I couldn't get words out. And my husband said, "Are you having a stroke?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't speak." And I'd never had a stroke, and I never had family history of stroke. I never had any family history of anyone having a stroke before. Although I was around stroke patients all day, every day, and it was my job, I never had a family member who actually had a stroke. Nothing in my history indicated that this was an issue. And so when I got to the hospital, they did the lab test. I'm young and had a stroke lab test, and it came back that I have a genetic blood clotting disorder.
What?
Yes. I hadn't processed my results yet from the ancestry. I hadn't really delved into that much. Like, it really didn't occur to me that that would be any piece of my puzzle, right? I just was devastated. My dad had just died. I had this stroke. I really didn't have time to deal with a whole bunch of other things. When they said it was a genetic blood clotting disorder, I was just shocked because I hadn't known anyone in my family to have this. So I started investigating, and I told everyone in my family, please go get tested for factor V. It's called factor V. That's the disorder. So my mom's side and my dad's side of the family all got tested, and not one person was positive for this genetic blood clotting disorder.
No sense.
Mm-hmm. It didn't at the time. And so it was very curious to me. My son, actually, I had him tested and he has it. And so I knew it came from somewhere. My hematologist just said, well, that's odd that nobody in your family has this because genetics are a weird thing.
Oh,
And
yeah, right. They're not that weird.
right. And so I didn't really pay much attention. I didn't really process it much because I thought I just knew who my family was, right? And then shortly after, I looked at my ancestry results, having had this stroke and then keeping everything in context of what's happening. I didn't match with anybody on my paternal side. And I had a half sibling, and I had a first cousin. And I didn't know any of the people on that side.
So when you see the half sibling, are you thinking, come on now, Dad?
Yes, absolutely. Because he's the person that just married this woman he met in a massage parlor. Well, this tracks. I'm like, this tracks. This seems right. I mean, I was not surprised at all. And in fact, for a little bit, I was happy and excited that I had a half sibling, and I was really just dying to reach out to her and say, guess what? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, and I accept you, and I was raised an only child, and this is so exciting, right? I was beyond thrilled. Of course, I Facebook stalked her, and she had a
Right.
brother, so I have a half sister and a half brother both, right? And I was just so excited that my dad was in my mind. My dad was just being promiscuous, right? I had a first cousin who reached out and said, "Hi, welcome to the family. I had no idea that Ross had another daughter. And I'm like, who is Ross? I mean, I'm thinking these half siblings are from my raising father. And when they said, welcome to the family, this is great. We didn't even know about you. And I said, who's Ross? And they said, well, based on your tree, that would be your father because Ross is this half sibling's father. And you guys match, on the paternal side. And I'm like, I really thought it was a scam. I said, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's
And
really
so
hard when your brain can't count. Like 1 + 1 is not making 2. It's not making sense. So I'm going to substitute it in to make it make sense.
right, exactly. And it was only after she responded back, I'm really sorry for the pain if I caused you any pain. I really didn't realize that you hadn't processed your ancestry results yet. Please forgive me if I caused you any pain. And if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And once again, I apologize. And then I thought, wait just a minute. This may not be a scam because she truly, genuinely felt terrible about it. And so I called my mom and I said, Mom, who is Ross? I gave the last name of all of the people on the paternal side. I said, who's this family line? And she said, I don't know. She said, I don't know, honey. I went to school with a Russell. And I said, well, that's Ross's brother. And she goes, well, I graduated with him. And I said, well, were you ever at a party with Russell and Ross was there? And she's like, I don't know. And I said, I think you were probably in 1973,